4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to yet another edition of J.E.D.I Lunch Break Live, Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Insights in 15 minutes or less. My name is Holly Holiday, and I am here as your J.E.D.I Master this afternoon. And we thank you so much for joining us for another rendition of J.E.D.I Lunch Break Live. We are deep into our discussion on equity inclusion plans. This includes 4 cycles. And why do I call them cycles? Because you can enter at any point, but you will have to go through the evolution a couple of different times. And probably actually the evolution is part of your ongoing journey. The cycles include planning, implementation, monitoring and evaluation, and sustainability and scalability. For more information on planning, implementation, and monitoring, we have already finished those 15-minute bites, and you can go to our YouTube channel, Holiday Advisors YouTube channel, and check out that information. But in the meantime, we are on to part 2 of sustainability and scalability. Last week, we specifically spoke about the value of documenting best practices. I want to say when we're talking about sustainability and scalability, all of these factors go together. And the factors are documenting best practices, securing funding, making sure that you have community and stakeholder involvement, policy integration, and then replication. These things kind of all fold into each other, but I've identified these 5 components of scalability and sustainability in order to kind of help tie it all together and to be able to break it down in 15 minutes or less. So let's jump into securing ongoing funding. What we mean when we say securing ongoing funding is that is not only making sure that it is part of your budget. And let me just say, one of my favorite people, mentors, one of the people that I probably work with the most, Renee Redwood of Redwood Enterprises, has made this statement over and over and over again, and I'm going to invoke it here, and it is that budgets are statements of priority. And it's so important that you are intentional and that you can derive from your budget what your investment is in your equity program. This is going to be important because how else can you measure whether or not you've gotten any return on your investment if you can't even calculate what your investment is? Also, it is important for things like annual reporting. If you have grants or other contribution opportunities, they're going to want to know, how did you document the work that you did? And so budget is one of the key indicators of how serious or not serious an organization or company is about diversity, equity, inclusion. And so documenting from the budget and then tracking those expenses as well as incomes is critical. And so we're going to talk a little bit about funding and some funding opportunities. So first, when you're thinking about funding, understand that funding can come from a lot of different places. Of course, funding can come out of your core operating budget. But in addition to that, many times, and especially in this period right now, because most organizations are operating at an equity deficit, there actually are government grants, foundation grants, and other philanthropic opportunities for you to get a jump start on putting your equity plan in place. And so I definitely encourage, from an income standpoint, for you to research and identify funding sources outside of your operating budget. Although maintenance will likely be funded through your operating budget. And so you need to be prepared to think about that, because there likely will be trade-offs with other things. Because you are looking at something where you could potentially be you could potentially be able to get outside funding, as well as how it fits in with your overall work. Equity should always be a part of your comprehensive plan, not just your strategic plan, but how that plan aligns with your budget. And remember that equity doesn't just occur inside the organization. It also should be attributed to things happening externally, which means that equity can very well, if you are a for-profit organization, could be attached to your bottom line or your program outcomes if you are a nonprofit. So just making sure that you are clear about how equity impacts your mission, your goals, your targets, your objectives. And again, all of that should be tied to your overall outcomes. We talked a little bit about sponsorship, but just know that we are definitely in a period where more and more people, more and more organizations and foundations, and even government grants are looking for an opportunity to expand equity. Now, equity at the state level can be a little bit tricky because some states have started to pass what we call anti-DEI legislation, which is essentially targeted at equity. But the federal government is going in a completely different direction. And so this is, again, why it's important to do your research, because you may find that you do qualify for some of those federal grants and activities. This does not happen. Equity is a team sport, and that not only means a team sport internally, it may mean a team sport externally as well. This is an opportunity for you to think about how you are building strong partnerships. Now, the collaboration may not necessarily happen just in terms of how you get funding for your program, but can also be in terms of program and other outreach outcomes. Think about who those partners are, and make sure that they are a critical and key part of the plan. Creating social responsibility programs, especially on the corporate side, helps you to be able to track social impact funds and initiatives. We find that when companies have strong social responsibility programs, this has a direct impact not only in their ability to attract talent within the organization, but also to attract a different level of consumer who identify and seek to support socially responsible corporations. We've talked a little bit already about government grants and funding. We haven't talked as much about private funding, and this is going to primarily apply to our nonprofit organizations. But again, a number of foundations are looking for an opportunity to support long-term equity. And when you're thinking about your own fund development work, think about how you are engaging in equitable donor cultivation. This means increasing diversity amongst your donor pool and being very intentional about how that increased diversity attaches to your ultimate mission and goal. Of course, with budgeting, we want to be sure that we're doing two important things. And the first is tracking and reporting your outcomes. Again, being able, which goes along with what we talked about last week, being able to show how the dollars are leveraged to improve mission and business outcomes is critical to being able to tell the story of how you receive a return on investment when you have an equitable workplace. The final thing is, this is a team activity. So building continuous networks and relationships is critical. Now, when we think about the securing of funding, recognize that this is a competitive process. It is not guaranteed to everyone. But we believe it's definitely worth considering and pursuing. We also further believe that by making this level of investment, either through outside funding or through internal funding sources, you are putting your organization and corporation ahead of the game to be able to not only attract better talent and and create diversity amongst your talent, but also and I think just as importantly, to manifest better business or nonprofit outcomes. Whew, okay. Well, I love talking about the money, and it looks as if we have done that. If you have any questions, I definitely want you to feel free to email me at J.E.D.I@holidayadvisors.com. We recognize that these are really just little snippets. Our purpose in doing these is really just to make sure that your ideas are flowing, that you have a good, strong basis and outline. For those folks who are thinking about hiring a consultant, have tried to figure out where to get started, this is why we do this kinds of activity and share this kind of information. For those of you who need more, reach out to me. We are here to help. It is 2024, and I think we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to create equity within their space and certainly within their institutions. Every institution that creates equity makes it a little bit easier for the next institution to do so, and know that we are here to help. Whew, I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to give you back the rest of your day. Thank you for joining J.E.D.I Lunch Break. Oh, excuse me. Thank you for joining J.E.D.I Lunch Break Live. We will be back next Thursday with part 3 of scalability and sustainability. Well, we will be talking about making sure key steps to keeping community and stakeholders involved. As you heard today, this is an important, in fact, I would say vital part of what you need to know in order to be equitable. Until then, in case you've missed anything, feel free to check out our YouTube channel as well as our LinkedIn channel. In the meantime, we hope that you like, subscribe, and follow us in all the social media places at Holiday Advisors. Have a great Thursday. Bye. Did you enjoy this segment of J.E.D.I Lunch Break Live? I'll be back next Thursday. Come on back and bring a friend.